So I'm out in my little bee yard here in Flat Rock, and it's freezing today. I think it's like minus 15 degrees Celsius. Got a few bees in the snow, which is normal, nothing big. Some signs of cleansing blights. But what I wanted to check on was these yogurt containers that I'm using for shelters. I don't think there's any problem with them so far. This is one that's got you can see here, you can see there's the ice. So I mean, condensation is building up inside and dripping down, and here's the icicle to prove it. So moisture is, or I should say excessive moisture is escaping from that hole, that entrance, and even with this thing on it. And this one has the hole, it's an auger hole in the super, and the top of the hive is actually right here, right? So it's a few inches down from the top. So again, the idea is that it holds in a little bit of ambient heat, just a layer of heat up top, instead of letting it all escape out the top entrance if it was right here. I don't know if that's really making a huge difference, but I read about that in the ABC and XYZ of Bee Culture, the 1947 edition, and thought I'd give it a go by just putting an auger hole lower than the top of the hive. So here's another one of these yogurt jobbies, and you can see too I've got a little bit of a slit right here in the top. I put that slit in there because I wasn't sure if wind blowing up through into the bottom of the yogurt container would actually get funneled into the hive if it was completely solid here. So I just gave a little bit of, as sort of like a release valve, a pressure relief valve sort of design. I don't know if that does anything, but that's what's going on there with that slit. And this colony has the top entrance it's a normal slotted inner cover entrance for a Langstroth hive, and again you can still see there's still plenty of excess condensation coming out of that hole and freezing and dripping down the side of that. So it's doing its thing. This one, there's not much going on. And this one over here, there's not much going on, and I think there's not much condensation because these colonies are actually a little bit on the weak side, and so maybe they're just not producing as much condensation because there's just not as much bees. But here's another one, and again it's a little bit some condensation building up and dripping down. So at least it shows that the bees are still alive in there. And I've got a variety of setups for this bee yard. I'll just lift the top off of this one to show what's going on inside this one. It doesn't have any wrap, and this is the only insulation it has. It's just this silver bubble wrap over the inner cover, which has got a screen on it, and I can hear the bees way down there, and that's all they've got. And then I've got this ventilation rim, and that's it. The hive is painted black, and it gets a little bit of sun in the morning, like right now. But that's about it. And I think they're doing okay. I'm just comparing my wrapped and unwrapped hives. This one's wrapped, and I might wrap up some of these other ones just for fun. And some of them have pillows. Like this one has a hive pillow, which is essentially a ventilation box. That's a pillow full of wood chips and straw. So it's essentially like a quilt box, a moisture quilt. Some call them Vivaldi boxes. They have a name for everything, but basically it's just a absorbent material above the inner cover, the hole, and it evaporates out the inner cover hole there, or the ventilation rim. So yeah, so that's what's going on. This hive has I couldn't find a good top cover for it, so I just used an old bottom board, and that you can see right here. Anyway, I'm not going to do that. I just lifted the bottom off and the top off. Anyway, Yeah, and some of them, this one has food, and they all have, it's all a big variety of things. You can see here that this hive is actually slanted pretty good because the ice, the snow is melting off it, and it's falling off. This can happen with, if you put a big concrete block on it, the block can actually do the same thing, and the concrete block can slide off and go and flip. The weight of it can actually flip the top cover off. But anyhow, so that's it. So I was just basically, I wanted to check on these things, and I think they're okay. So far, they're okay. My only concern is that sometimes when the bees are clustering up higher, I'm talking about the lower entrances here too. When they're clustering higher, sometimes they don't have enough sense to actually go down and get out of the hive. And this colony doesn't have an upper entrance. It's got to go down to get out of this hole there. So I'm concerned about that. If they don't have enough sense to do that, then they can end up pooping inside the hive, and that's bad news. But which I've seen. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think these yogurt container things are working well. And you can see too that there's definitely bees breathing inside and giving off condensation because of the frozen water, frozen ice, that ice. So yeah, it's a real mishmash of everything in my bee yard, but it's funny too, the ones that have the least, these don't have any wrap. This one doesn't have a wrap, that one doesn't have a wrap, and it doesn't have a pillow either, like any kind of moisture thing. All they've got is this ventilation rim up top, and those ones look like they're in the best shape compared to all the other ones. So that might just be coincidence, because I knew they were pretty strong colonies going into winter. But anyhow, so I'm going to continue to wrap up my, I think, weaker colonies. All these other ones are they're not as strong as those two. So I might put a pillow on top of each of these, but I might start wrapping these two either today or as soon as all this snow melts. We're going to have a lot of rain tomorrow, so most of this is going to wash away. Anyway, that's it. That's my beekeeping thoughts for today. I'll see you later.